Welcome to Parenthood Bites, the podcast where we explore life as a parent in tech. I'm your host, Chow, and I have over 15 years of experience in tech, and I'm also currently working as a career coach. I'm the proud mother of 3 incredible boys. In each episode, we have an inspiring guest who will share their remarkable story. You'll find their wisdom and insights both relatable and enriching, because after all, we're all in this parenting journey together. So grab your favorite drink, get cozy, and let's dive into today's episode. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 76 of Parenthood Bites. We're here today with Tran, a former tech executive turned coach. Her business, The Inner Fire, focuses on helping people lead with more clarity and courage both at home and at work. You can learn more about her work at theinnerfire.co. We'll also add a link to her page on our episode show notes as well as on our website. You may remember Ha from episode 60, where she talked to us about her journey into tech and then her journey into coaching. We're lucky to have her join us again today to explore her thoughtful strategies for discussing future careers and navigating those pivotal college decisions with kids. Hi, Ha. Welcome back. How are you today?
I'm very good and very happy to be back on your podcast. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'm so excited to talk to you. And like we were talking before the recording, I just wanted to share with everyone. Like I saw Ha and she's wearing this beautiful red, bright red lipstick. And I feel like it's an inspiration for me because, I have a lot of red lipstick, but I get nervous wearing it because I'm like, can I do it? Can I pull it off? You are pulling it off beautifully. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I was exactly where you are. I had red lipstick forever, and then I thought one day when I'm having enough confidence or my skin look well enough, I will wear this red color. But no, that day never came. But one day I'm just like, yeah, it's little me, or I just want a change of scene, so I'm gonna put this on, and I loved it, and I keep wearing it since.
Yeah, I love that. And you really made, the lipstick compliment you. And hopefully the next time we talk, you'll see me in red lipstick. We'll see.
I would love to do that.
But today, we wanted to get together to kind of talk a little bit about discussing future careers with kids, because I think that's something that a lot of us think about of like, how much do you discuss with your kids and, what do you talk to them about and things. So I was curious to start with kind of your experience and what prompted you to want to have this conversation around this topic.
Yeah. So, what prompted me to want to have this conversation is lately I've seen a lot of question around, oh, AI is becoming so good. I need to be worried about my job. And also, what does it mean for our kids? What their career is going to look like? And then the other part of it is I've seen conversation every now and then where people ask, oh, what are the tip and trick or best practices if I want to prepare my kids for Ivy League school? And this conversation is startling to me because as someone coming from Vietnam, and not just Vietnam, from the countryside of Vietnam, making a career in the US is unthinkable. And I'm not smarter than a lot of people. I'm not the smartest person on earth or, by any mean. And I don't have any advantage. Like my parents are labor worker. They work really hard. And somehow I made it here and I made a career here. I didn't go to Ivy League school. So I gotta believe that going to Ivy League school, though, is a good goal to have, but it doesn't have to be the way. I understand being a parent, you want to give your kid the best shot at life. A brand name on their resume could mean a lot. But I would want to challenge that thought. And yeah, to answer your question, that's why I want to have this conversation.
Yeah. So you mentioned, when you came to United States, were you out of college already? At what point in your life were you at when you came here?
Yeah, so I came to the US freshly graduated from a business school. And before that, I was working in Vietnam for 5 years, building the first social networking service in the country.
Oh, that's really cool. And I think you touched upon a really great point, which is like, especially with AI right now, I just had a conversation with parents on a field trip the other day where they were like, is it going to affect our jobs? It is a thing that a lot of parents have been thinking about. Is that something that has come up when you talk to clients and other parents and things like that? And how do you have that conversation with them? And what are your thoughts there?
Yeah. So this week I had I thought a lot about why people are scared of AI. And I think I put them in three buckets. Number one is based fear, meaning they never use AI. They just heard conversation or saw some headline about AI replacing human and now they think they need to fear for their job. So to me, that's the first group. The second group are people who have tried AI and suddenly think, oh, AI can do exactly what I am doing. So of course, I'm worried about my job going away. And then there's a third group also use AI and think, wow, I'm going to be much more efficient and smarter because I have AI. And then I want to circle back on the fear. Why do people fear AI? I think it's mostly because they've done surface level work with AI, meaning, hey, can you write me an email to my boss saying that I need to go on vacation? Sure, you can definitely do that. And the AI is going to give you a very polished, neat email, but that's not you. And how do I know this? I've tried multiple prompts, even with like real life questions. So I'm in a different social group, and then once in a while, a mom or someone will post a question. I do an experiment of copying that question, punch it into ChatGPT. I saw the answer, and then I would see this almost exact same answer from someone else without, sourcing like this is an AI answer. And that's where it worries me. We are using AI in a way that it is not supposed to be. When AI came out, it's tempted to just try what else they can do, like, oh, write me an email. Even more complicated task we think. This is my business and identify a core customer for me. And I've seen this, like people do this. Or I am planning for a class teaching so and so topic. Give me an outline. These are still at the very basic level of using AI. Because what you're trying to do is you tell them to do something with very general instruction. Doesn't know you in this comment, in this prompt. And then what make it worse is people don't check the output that AI give them. They give them an email, they give them a lecture outline. Great, I'm going to take it. And that's where it gets dangerous. That's where the more we do that, the more we are saturated in like mediocre content or mediocre work. And the more we do that, we stuck in a vicious cycle of thinking, oh, AI is better than me. I need to worry about my job security. So I would love to have this conversation with more people for two reasons. One, I want to further understand why they fear for AI. And two, in a way, I want to reassure them that there are other ways they can outsmart AI and make AI work for them.
How do you help them navigate that? And how do you direct those conversations when people say, I am worried about, my kids in the future getting replaced by AI. So how do you reassure them that like, okay, it's okay? Or like, how do you help them cope with that?
Yeah, so I guess we're bringing this back to the conversation about how I talk to my kid about career or how I think about career. I think I am grateful that my parent never really tried to push me on a scripted path. They didn't tell me that you have to become a teacher or you have to become a surgeon to have a good life. And they allow me the freedom to explore what I'm good at and what I really want to do. And more importantly, they focus a lot on teaching me emotional intelligence and social intelligence, like reading the room, see what people say, what worries them, what motivates them. My dad spent a lot of time teaching me how to win friends and influence people. You have to know, my dad is a labor worker and he was just like sleep on how to win and influence friends from 30 years ago and keep talking about these conversations to all of us. And think about fast forward to today, I think it's still very relevant. If you think about AI or Ivy League school, we all want our kid to have an edge, to have a competitive advantage. But degree is going to go away. Not go away, but less valuable. We're even seeing it today. If you think about MBA or some famous brand, sure, it's good to have that brand, but ultimately people look at how you work, and that means how you lead, how you solve problem. And if you can focus on these two, just how to lead, how to solve interesting problems, you don't need to go to Ivy League school. You don't need AI to acquire these skills. So thinking about that, I started planning on what else can I do to give my kid an edge in my ability. Like there's no way I'm going to afford to be able to afford private school for them. And I don't know a certain path that can get them into Harvard or MIT. But what I can control is I can create program, create conversation to help them focus on emotional intelligence, social intelligence, problem solving. I can do that. So one of the example that I started thinking about is I want to bring them back to Vietnam every summer so that they can learn the language, know their roots. But on top of that, because they speak English, I can create English club where they can be the leader. And this is where they learn how to lead, how to practice their emotional intelligence and practice their influence to their peer in their own way. So this is how I plan to help my kid acquire this important skill for life instead of striving for a degree from Harvard.
That's a really great point because, like you said, AI can help you polish, how you phrase things or whatever, but it's not going to teach you how to build these personal relationships, how to treat people, how to have that emotional intelligence that you talked about. And I think so many parents and kids give themselves so much pressure to say, oh, we have to go to this school, we have to go to that school. But like you said, if you go to a really good school and you don't have some of that emotional intelligence, that's not going to help as much.
Yeah. So I think in the fall last year there was a report coming out, and the headline was younger generation of worker are being refused of work because they lack soft skill. They just don't know how to interact with people. And think about these kids who just graduated from school, even big brand name school, and they don't have these like social skills or interpersonal skills. Then all of these knowledge and skill that they acquire from school, they are never going to have a chance to exercise and use them. So I think it's way more important to focusing on interpersonal skill, leadership skill. And again, that is something that you can learn even if you don't go to famous school, Ivy League school. And to bring the point home, that's where I think it's more important to think about what do I want for my kids instead of just saying, oh, there's a system. They need to go to elementary school, middle school, high school, then college, and I need to get them into the best program every step of the way. I don't think of it that way. I think about what skills I want them to have when they come of age at like 18 or 20. And then how do I prepare from now to practice those skills at their age? I'll give you another example. I teach my son how to lead in a very small, trivial way. He wanted to go to school on his own. And not only that, he wanted to be the leader. I was like, good, do it. So I tell him that, like, set the basic example. Like, first, be safe. So whatever you do, be safe. And then I point out, hey, you stop at the green light when you're supposed to just go. If you stop, then you might cause accident because people behind you will still going. That's the first lesson. Like we spend a lot of time just to get that right. And then the next step is, hey, if you are going to lead me, I'm behind you, so I need you to give me a clear signal. Are you going to turn right here or are you going straight? And it's amazing to see the light turn on for him. He's like, oh, so I didn't do that. And then the next time, he made it very clear. Mommy, we are turning right here. Or mommy, we are exploring a new route. And then he was like, is it okay if I go the new route? I might get lost. And I was like, it's okay, we'll figure it out if you get lost. So these skills are way more important to me than did he do addition correctly at school today.
That's huge because I do feel like, especially also with the pandemic that was happening, right? I think a lot of the kids, I look at my kids and a lot of times I'm like, wait, you should know some of those skills. And it really made me kind of take a step back to be like, hold on. Like what you said, I need to focus on making sure they know how to cross the street. If you get lost, how do you handle it? Things like that. Even like, how do you open a water bottle? Because so many times you're just like, here, mom, do it. But it's like, hey, if they try a few times, they can figure it out, right? And just
Mhm.
kind of being able to foster that, I think is something, like you said, you go to a Ivy League school, whatever. It's like, if you can't solve some of those problems, you can't solve the harder problems, right? And it sounds
Yeah.
like kind of you're teaching them that foundation of, hey, it's regardless of how big or small the problem is, I'm teaching you how to approach the problem and solve it.
Yep, yep. I think what you said is really important. There's two ways to solve a problem. One is you read how to solve it and try to apply the best practices or the step by step. Or the other is you just learn how to teach yourself to keep going. That way, even when you get stuck, you don't give up and you just like, okay, what other way can I do? So either or, we are enrolling into one of these situations. So the question is, are you consciously choosing one, or are you just automatically enrolling in a path that you don't know?
Right, right. And I think it's so important because sometimes, certain specific things may teach you how to solve that one problem. But you're
Mhm.
kind of setting it up. So it's like, no, it's not just I can solve A, B, and C. No, now I know how to solve all of the different problems. I know kind of what approach I want to take and things like that. And I think that's really, really important, especially for kids now to learn those things.
Absolutely. I mean, in my kids' career, I see my role as to preserve their creativity, their passion, and help them explore all the possibility rather than trying to guide them on a path. I've seen in my generation, my mom and dad was telling me that we are so poor, the only way that we can escape poverty is for you to do really well at school and get a bachelor degree and get an office job. And I understand that because they didn't know any better. And for us growing up in the countryside, that's the only way to get out of the village, have a job, escape this laboring work. And now that I have escaped it, I've seen people around me succeeding without going to school. They become an artist, they become a farmer, they become a business owner. Now, I'm not saying that we should let our kids run free and decide for themselves whatever they want to do, but with more intention instead of forcing them in a way to go on a path. Let's broaden the horizon and say, here's all the possibility, and I'm going to help you make informed decision on what you want to do for the rest of your life. I got it. I get it. You already love your kids so much. You can do anything, and you're already working really hard. What I'm asking is instead of follow the script, take a step back. Equip them with the skills for life instead of, big brand name. That's not the only way.
Just focusing on this one school. Oh, I have to get in or we're screwed, right? Like I've talked to
Yeah.
some parents who are like, "Oh, we have to go to this school or you're just going to be homeless if we don't." And it's like it's not black and white like that, right? There's so many options and just giving them the tools to be able to figure out how to deal with those different options, different opportunities, different things, I think is even bigger.
Mhm.
And I think this conversation is very timely for me because I talk to a lot of parents from my kids' schools and stuff, and we've talked about this where my oldest is already in high school and thinking about college, thinking about all of that, and there's just so much pressure provided by school. And like I just attended a seminar the other day. They had a school seminar, and I was like, I guess I should attend, talking about going to college and things like that. And there's just so much pressure, so much pressure of all the things you need to do to go to college and all the things you need to do to continue and all of that. And it's just after I talk to you, this framing and stuff, I'm just like, that makes so much sense. Why do we have to have so much pressure? And another parent's telling me also, like, there's so many schools out there. Why do we need to say, hey, you have to go to this school, you have to do this thing? There's no need.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah,
society just gives us a lot of pressure to do those things.
yeah, 100%. Fear based. All of this advertisement, all of this system in place, they stress on our fear to, in a way, I want to use an extreme word like coerce us into making a decision, follow their script. Like school is going to say like, oh, a big brand name is going to be great for your kids. Like even less well-known school will say the same thing. A degree is so important for your kids' future. Again, I'm not advocating for not sending your kids to college. I'm just saying take a step back and decide what skill you want your kids to acquire. And is it worth all the hassle and the stress that you and your kids are enduring? Is there enough? And there's always is.
For sure. So I feel like this episode was full of advices, but if you had one advice that you wanted to give parents that are navigating this, what would that be?
I would say decide what life skill you want to equip your kids with. Start with that. And then if you have space, what kind of life do you want them to live? Do you want them to be in another rat race? I know all of us, if you have worked for a few years, you know what a rat race is. And then with that, have the willpower to have the conversation with your kids, equip them with information, and trust that when the time comes, they will be able to make decisions on their own.
I love that. And I think so many times we don't trust ourselves to have set that foundation, because we worry and we're like, oh my gosh. But it's like we should take a step back at that point and be like, no, I've already set them up. So now I can trust them to make those decisions. And I'll
Mhm.
always be here to support, but I got to trust them to make some of the harder decisions on their own because we've set that up for them. They have the tools to help them with that.
Mhm. And I'm not going to downplay how difficult it is. It is difficult because you feel like with all the experience that you've went through, you're pretty sure you know the best. Now overcome that limiting belief and tell yourself a different story. You don't know it all, especially 30 years from now. You don't know how it's going to be. So instead of putting your kids on a path, equipping them with the skill to thrive in that environment.
That's huge because I think so much of the time, I think for myself too, is like, okay, this was my path. Then I feel like this should be their path. This is how I know to do it. So I only know that way. But it's like, again, taking that step back and be like, wait, that isn't the only path. There are
Mhm.
other options to take. They don't have to do exactly what I did. I'm like, okay, they got to take this language. They got to do this community service because I did it. And it's like, no, 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 things have also evolved. It's not when I was in high school. It's been so many years, right? Things have changed and they don't necessarily have to do all of those things. I can provide it as an option, but it is not the only option.
Yeah, yeah. And then I think the other part is making that decision itself is already very difficult. But staying your course is going to be even more challenging because there will be louder voice telling you that they need to go to school. They need to go to the best school out there. And then, hey, how come you're not worried? They are, coming of age. They need to be enrolling in one of the school. And then the pressure will find their way back into whatever you're doing. Peer pressure, fear will find you again. And then you have to re enroll on your own path. Like, no, I'm here for the foundation for my kid. I'm not here for that one school.
Yeah, that's great. I really appreciate you sharing all of these with us today because I think these are really, really important nuggets that regardless of how old your kid is, whether they're getting ready for college, they're toddlers, I think early on it's good to start building those foundations for them and really just thinking about, okay, how do I foster them to make the right decision and things like that. So I super appreciate you sharing that today. Thank you, Ha.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for having me on the podcast and letting me share my point of view.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. And for folks who want to reach out to Ha, you can find her at theinnerfire.co or email her directly at Ha. That's HA at theinnerfire.co. And thanks again, Ha. I hope you have a great week ahead. Thank you so much for joining us today on Parenthood Bites. We hope you found our episode informative and entertaining. If you're a parent in the tech world or know someone who is, we'd love to hear from you. Please reach out to us at chow@parenthoodbites.co, and we'll be thrilled to add your experiences to our interviews. That's chow, CHIAO, at parenthoodbites.co. And to our potential sponsors out there, if you're a business or know of one that would like to support and partner with our podcast, please don't hesitate to get in touch. You can also reach us at chow@parenthoodbites.co. Thank you once again for tuning in, and we wish you a fantastic rest of your week. Until next time, take care and stay curious.